Welcome to the On Purpose Investor Podcast, show number 42.
I believe if the people that are doing it the right way are truly doing it with a passion and they want to help and they go through a lot of hard work and it's not worth it except for would I change those lives again? And if the answer is yes, then all the money and work and behind the scenes is all worth it.
Welcome to the On Purpose Investor Podcast with your host Eric and Tiffany Vogel. We've spent several hard years building a rental property portfolio so we can have more time with our family and live our ideal life. Now, finding your path can be difficult, so we're here to guide you along the way with lessons, tips, and tricks to design and implement your dream life. Now, sit back, turn up the volume, smash that follow button, and get ready for this episode of the On Purpose Investor. What is going on, OPI Nation? This is Eric, your host, and I am here with the one and only Adrian Smude out of Plant City, Florida. He is the one and only neon highlighter investor that I know, the one that wears a Speedo when no one calls for one. He is awesome. He is great. He's here to change your life today, talking about lifestyle REI and what he does as an investor. Adrian Smude, welcome to the On Purpose Investor Podcast.
Eric, I appreciate you having me here. I love the energy you bring.
Thanks, bud. Thanks. You know, when we met just a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, I think it was now, I said, wow, I want to be just like Adrian Smude, because we were on this cruise. And Adrian gets up and he talks about mobile homes. And I'm thinking, listen, I don't know if I'm interested in mobile homes, but I'm definitely interested in what he's saying, because this guy knows how to present. This guy knows how to talk. And over the course of the past 5 years, I've seen Adrian speak on multiple occasions. He keeps getting better. He keeps getting more fun, and he wears more Speedos than ever. Y'all, this guy is the real deal. So if you're into mobile home investing, if you're into living a more purposeful lifestyle, if you're into just being super intentional with what you're doing, this show is for you. Adrian, welcome to the OPI podcast. We're super excited to have you here. So without any further ado, let's dive in. Let's get our listeners to know you. Where are you from?
I'm from Plant City, Florida, like you mentioned, and we are the winter strawberry capital of the world.
Oh, my goodness.
Which is in Central Florida, because I'm sure most people are like, where's Plant City? We're in between Tampa and Orlando, to kind of get it in your head of where we are in Florida.
Right on, right on. And what do you invest in?
So single unit mobile homes. So that means the home and the land together. It can be a single wide, double wide, but I like trailers.
Trailers versus mobiles?
Well, if I'm buying it, it's going to be a trailer. And if I'm selling it or leasing it, it's going to be a manufactured home, because our words matter, as you know.
Yes.
So I always call them trailers, but marketing, I kind of put mobile home. And once I'm talking to the person, I switch to trailers, unless they correct me multiple times.
That's right. You got to be a chameleon sometimes. You got to adapt to your surroundings and do what works best in that environment, right? Right.
Yes, sir.
All right. So how did you get started? Did you just one day wake up and say, hey, I'm going to go buy trailers for a living? How did that happen?
That's exactly it. I had a dream one day and I said, I want to own trailers, but that is very far from the truth. I actually grew up where trailers and mobile homes were not that good of an investment. They weren't safe. They're hurricane missiles, quote unquote. It really started whenever I was a tenant, and a terrible tenant. I was about 19, 20 years old, and my friends and I have a list of eviction notices for spaghetti wrestling, pudding wrestling, parking the motorcycle in the living room, mud wrestling. Again, we were the tenants you never want to rent to. So what do? I go buy a house. And then I move my same friends in that helped me get evicted. I was not the motorcycle. I might have been some of the parties. But I moved them in, and then I got to feel what the landlord side was about. It really turned out really well, because I did something without realizing it that was brilliant. I divided up the rooms amongst all my friends and charged them my mortgage. So I lived for free. I was like, well, this is really cool. I like living for free. A few years later, I went to the mortgage broker and said, can I buy another house? I bought another house. I was only listening to the banks, which you'll learn is a bad idea. And I bought another property, losing a little bit every month, but the bank said, it's okay, real estate goes straight up. Well, a few years later, when that ARM, the adjustable rate mortgage, I was supposed to refinance out of that, the market was going down because we were in the recession.
Yeah.
And completely opposite of what I would have thought, my rate actually started going up. So I went from losing a little bit every month to a little bit more every month. And I eventually gave up and sold the house as a short sale. Ding to my ego, ding to my credit. Really the biggest thing, it was a ding to my integrity. And it helped me become a conservative investor. I ended up at REIAs years later, so the real estate investor clubs. And that's where I found out about mobile homes or trailers. And that conservative part of me that I was talking about, I thought we were at the top of the market like 6-7 years ago, which obviously I've been extremely wrong. But that's what drove me to start listening to the old school investors that all talked about mobile homes. And since then, I have completely switched my investing career over to mobile homes. So that is my 20 years kind of condensed down into 3 or 4 minutes.
Now, the one thing that intrigues me most is the spaghetti fighting. I've never heard of it. I'm very risk adverse when it comes to searching for things. I don't know what the result might be, so I'm just gonna talk to you offline about what a spaghetti fight is. Sounds crazy, sounds fun. I love spaghetti, but maybe not on a person. So.
And our landlord didn't like it because the mold started growing because we didn't clean it up right away.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So you speak a little bit about the old school investors, and I believe you're talking about the Jack Millers of the heyday back when, the Tampa six pack was a thing and they were all, the Carlton Sheets didn't have nothing on the Jack Miller group. Carlton Sheets was a great salesman. He was on those yachts. He was doing the thing, but he didn't have nothing on Jack Miller from what I've heard. I'd never got a chance to see him speak, but love watching all of his replays out there.
Exactly. And it was the Jack Miller world, but then also just the gray-haired, or if they even have hair, investor, usually in the real estate rooms, they sit in the back of the room. They don't need to do another deal. They're there because they love real estate. And as I got to know them, because they've been in the business longer than I've been alive, I was like, well, they're pretty wise. And one of the patterns, I learned I'm very good at finding patterns in people, successful people. One of the patterns was mobile homes. I was like,
that's right.
They know more than I know, so why don't I just listen to them? And that's where I got today.
Yeah, and Leon Johnson is a good person to refer to when it comes to the Jack Miller-esque investor style, and he's still doing it today. That guy will tell you any day of the week that mobile home's a good investment. They still own mobile home parks down there in Mississippi. Him and Adam, his son, they're just out there killing it with everything that they're doing. So find those investor educators, and even if it's old, even if they're talking numbers from the 70s, they're talking numbers from the 60s, it doesn't matter. Just inflate those numbers a little bit. The principles still matter. The principles still work. How to talk to sellers, how to structure deals, how to get to be a landlord of a lot of homes to create that cash flow that will ultimately create the lifestyle that you deserve, the lifestyle that you dream of.
Exactly. And one reason I gravitated to mobile homes is the cash flow. It's a much larger return on our investment, which allowed me to grow faster with less of my money, which got me to the ultimate goal of being where I want, when I want, with who I want. And that's a lot of my education brand, the Lifestyle REI. So that's my lifestyle freedom to get to go and see you multiple times a year at RV RIA and these different cruises that we go on. I got the freedom of it because of the cash flow I created.
That's right. And y'all, if you're interested in learning anything more about Jack Miller, about what are some Lonnie Scruggs, about some of the original Tampa six-pack investors, our good friend and mentor Bill Cook and Kim Cook, run an awesome website that is full of archived educational seminars called cashflowdepot.com. I would encourage every listener out there to go get a lifetime membership right now. I do not get paid anything for saying this. I just love the content that is there. Y'all, if it's the very first website you ever visit for real estate investing, you're in a good spot. They have sample landlord contracts. They have sample everything. Anything that you can imagine that might help you to become a real estate investor, the content is there. And it just takes you digging through it and finding what matters. So that's cashflowdepot.com. Go check that out.
I can't believe how cheap they keep it. Honestly, I don't keep any of my education that cheap. It is the best value and cheapest education there is out there. And I don't know if they're going to keep it that long because there's a lot in the background that they have to pay for to keep that website up. It's amazing how they keep it so cheap.
Yeah, and it's a lifetime membership. It's not a recurring fee. I bet you'll spend more on Netflix in the next 2 years than you'll spend on Cashflow Depot. And imagine if you just took that small investment of, instead of buying Netflix and Amazon and Hulu, I'm going to buy Cashflow Depot lifetime membership. Imagine where your life would be. That's my goal, is to get our listeners to just begin thinking about what a small little decision can do for their life. The most powerful effect on earth, the most powerful thing on the face of this earth is compound interest. And that also applies to your education. If you could just educate a little bit every day, it will compound, it'll snowball, and you're going to be living the life of your wildest dreams if you just take that short little decision and make it happen on a daily basis.
Well said.
All right, on. Adrian, let's get into our meat and potatoes of the On Purpose Investor podcast and just get started with when you first began, when you first got started, what was your main motivation?
Well, really, I was just looking for something else to do. Before I got into real estate, I'll say as a full-time investor, like I was going to take this serious, not the hobby landlord I was when I started out and I had a few properties. I found the real side of real estate investing, the Jack Miller world we talked about. It was just to replace income. I've never been someone that wanted to work W-2 jobs. I've had very few in my life. And I just felt like constrained, like, man, 3 months from now on Thursday at noon, I know where I'm going to be at. That didn't sit well with me.
Yeah.
And I wanted the freedom to control it, even if I had to work a massive amount of hours. So it was really that, just controlling my life is what I was after. And then pretty quick, my coach helped me make a goal to replace my, at that time, wife's income within 1 year. Looking back, he didn't fully know that I could do it, but we put the whiteboard up. We put how many properties that would be. It was 10 properties. The average, because we just took the average income I took from one property, net income, not gross, but the net.
Right.
And we figured it up. I needed $3,000 more, put that on the board, and just slowly added properties. And I actually did it in 1 year.
It's amazing the things you will achieve when you put it in front of you. It's amazing the obstacles you can overcome when you're just presented with the challenge with the right mindset. We are far superior to overcome the obstacles than we give ourselves credit for. We're powerful humans. Our brains are super powerful. And, my wife, Tiffany, is going through this very delicate process. It's called, I'm trying to think of it right now, but it's a mindset process. She's in this program right now, and it's all about envisioning success. It's all about envisioning, it's a vision thing. And I love seeing the transformation that she's going through. I will think of it here in a minute, and I'll be like, I'm going to interrupt you and say it. But it's just amazing when you train your brain.
And the secret behind that whiteboard that had the 10 properties I needed to buy, that I didn't realize that was happening, is I was needing to convince my wife that it was possible because she didn't think it was possible. So I kept telling her over and over and over again, which was actually an affirmation for myself to convince myself it was possible. I didn't learn any of this until it was all over with. Like, that's really what was happening, is I was trying to convince her, which was convincing me, which then snowballed the mindset that it can happen, which then got me another property. And then that helps the snowball. It is amazing what happens when we do what you just said.
Yeah. And when you can celebrate the small wins, that's one thing that I've been really focusing on lately is the gap versus the gain. It's so easy to look at other people's success and say, that's the gap. God, I want to sell 1,000 more books a month, or I want to have 10,000 more listeners per episode on my podcast, or I want to own 500 units, or I want 50,000 in cash flow a month. And you're like, that's the gap. And if you only focus on the gap, you're selling yourself short and you'll often quit. And when, I listened to the Bigger Pockets podcast a few years ago when we first got started. And one of their questions was, why do you feel like investors give up, stop, or never get started? And I can see it now as an investor and as someone that has been working diligently to be a better teacher, a better educator, a better investor, a better husband, a better father, all these things. The only thing that's going to keep you from achieving these goals is by not focusing on where your growth is and where you're coming from. Because if you only focus on that gap, it's like, I'll never achieve it. I'll never achieve it. But look back, just take a look behind you and say, where was I? Where was I a year ago? Where was I 5 years ago? Where were you 10 years ago? Like 10 years ago, I was teaching. I was in my first year of teaching. I was spending money like no one's business. I had horrible habits. I was just lost. And then I look today and I'm like, wow, I love where I'm at. Do I want to be further? Absolutely. But I love where I'm at.
I literally have an alert in my phone every single day to be grateful where I came from. Yeah. And I do exactly what you just said. All those time frames. It could be this morning, this week, yesterday, whatever. It doesn't matter the time frame, but I always find a difference. And when you stop and think about it, that is one of the more powerful things I've been doing this year.
Yeah. And, The Gap and the Gain is a great book. I will figure out that author here in a little bit. But The Gap and the Gain is an awesome book. Adrian, do you know that author?
I don't, but when things keep appearing in your life over and over and over again, it's kind of a sign that you need to read it. This is probably the 10th time this year that book has come up. So I'm like, I think I know the concept, but it sounds like I need to read this book. There's something I'm missing because the universe keeps shoving it in my face, in my ear.
That's right. Y'all, I promise you, if you're listening to this podcast right now, the link to The Gap and the Gain is in the show notes. It is there. If you're just want to do a quick little click and go find that book and get it right now, it's in the show notes. So if you're interested in The Gap and the Gain and all the mindset things that go along with it, click on that link and go find that book right now. Moving on, Adrian, we're going to go to our next question. When you first got started, we all, everything, there is to know about visioning and creating a roadmap. Now you do. But, 20 years ago when you first got started and y'all were throwing spaghetti noodles at each other, did you have any idea that, in X amount of time, I want to achieve this benchmark to later achieve this one? Did you have a roadmap when you first got started?
No, I did not have a roadmap at all. To tell you how naive I was, I would tell people if someone gave me $100,000, I could retire and be set for life.
Oh boy.
Which is, see? I'm not saying you couldn't do that, the right creative deal structure, but you can't do that from a newbie and create that type of passive income. But that's how just naive I was. I've been more of one that I call it like paddling through mud. I just start doing stuff or throwing mud on the wall, and I just start doing stuff, and whatever sticks, I'm like, okay, well, there's some traction here. I'll go this direction a little bit. So my original shirt, my Lifestyle REI is my education brand, but my original shirt is My Wife Buys Mobile Homes.
Yeah.
I wish I could say I'm this brilliant marketer that knew exactly how brilliant that was going to be. No. I put a shirt on. I did a bright color. It had a few revisions in between, and people liked it. And I was actually challenged in one of my mastermind groups, keep that and trash your brand. Because my brand was like Fast Solutions for Homes, and I liked the little Fiverr logo they gave me. Yeah. And I was a little upset with the guy that told me, but he was right. So I've learned, and I've been doing that now in my education side. I just try stuff, and then whatever works, I get better and better with it.
Right.
It's maybe not the best road. It's a bumpy dirt road.
Yeah.
But it got me here.
Right. Do you feel like if you would have started with a roadmap, Like in like before you bought your first property and you said, here's how I'm going to strategically invest. Here's how I'm going to strategically do things. Do you feel like you would have reached your goal sooner? Do you feel like you would have avoided some costly mistakes along the way?
Of course, without a doubt, yes, yes, yes. And I'm very fortunate that I put my ego aside and learned that in recent years instead of waiting until I'm really old to learn that. So now, whenever I have a trusted person that's giving me advice, I still have to get my ego in check because it comes back and says, "No, you're right, Adrian." I'm like, "No, this is a smart person.
Yeah.
Let me trust them." And
Right.
writing my book, we actually had the same book coach. Was
Hmm.
a very easy thing. I already believed in coaching, and he was recommended by someone that I trusted. So I was like, "All right, I don't need to know steps forward. I just trust this guy. Give me my homework assignment until the next time we meet, and I
Yeah.
could just relax." It went so much smoother than I could have ever imagined
Right.
because I had a trusted roadmap.
Yeah. Diving into that vein right there, Adrian and I, we started writing a book kind of at the same time. And we were like, oh my God, we're writing books. We are authors. We're doing this. And then we launched within 4 or 5 months of each other. And I'm just so happy to say that we both achieved a dream of ours. We both achieved something that I know for a fact. When I was in high school, I was like a C minus student that was horrible at school and I didn't write well and anything like that. And then when my wife and I cranked out this book, it's like, wow, I'm an author. And kudos to our editor Val. She was fantastic. Loved working with Val, and kudos to our coach Brent. It was just awesome through that process to achieve something that you just don't know what you're going to achieve unless it's in your roadmap and you challenge yourself to do it. If you get into a car that you've never driven before and you say, this is my only way to get to point B. I've got to figure out how to drive this car, or else I will not get to that destination that I long to be at. You're going to figure out how to drive that damn car. You're going to get in there. You're going to figure out how to turn it on. You're going to figure out how to steer it, all of the things. And that's what it is to vision cast. That's what it is to have a vision board, is to put things up on that board and say, I have no clue how I'm going to get there, but damn it, I'm going to get there. And you do what it takes. For those of you that are just not about the vision boards and you're not about vision casting and you're just like, well, I guess I might get that promotion at work. If I get it, then I guess I could get that boat that I've really wanted. To heck with that. Put your promotion on that board and say, I'm the VP of something, or I'm the president, or I'm the CEO. And this is my 40-foot yacht. And this is the truck that I pull it with. And this is the house that we live in Naples. And you put those things on your board, or else you're chasing nothing. You're chasing a maybe. You're chasing a I wanna instead of I have to.
Oh man, there's so much there. I could talk hours on so many of those topics you just said. I want to add a piece to that vision thing because so many people think of that woo-woo craziness. That stuff isn't real. I'm a person that needs some type of science based behind it. I don't need to know everything, but I just got to know a little bit to grasp it. And there is science from the 80s. We're not talking about like the last few years. There's tens
Mhm.
of thousands of people that they've done actual science, blood work on that this stuff is real. There's
Mhm.
people you can go down the rabbit hole like Joe Dispenza to teach you all that, but just know that there is science behind everything you just said, Eric. If people need that, it works, and just trust the process and
That's right.
try it and prove Eric wrong by trying it for 6 months. How about that?
That's right. Yeah. Well, don't go put on your vision board that you won $5 million on a scratcher at the
Yeah.
lottery. You know, that is not what we're talking about. We're talking about dreams that are capable of becoming reality through your diligence and focus and you working toward them. So if you're trying to get to the moon in the next 6 months and you're not an astronaut, I mean, there's a big gap there that you may not overcome. But I mean, if you make that a 50-year goal, there's no reason you can't make that happen. You got to start aligning your life decisions and your life actions with that dream.
And we have to do the action. That's the other part of it. You don't just put it on the board, like you said, and then forget about it.
Right.
But a lot of that is you don't put the how, you put the why or
Yep.
what you want and not the
Mhm.
roadmap in between. You get someone that helps you build that. And
Yep.
a great example that I got of that last year is I've got my mentor page of people that have really helped me.
Mhm.
And I have just pictures of them, and a few of them that I actually know personally. I have a picture with me and that person.
Yeah.
And one of my buddies challenged me. He's like, well, why don't you get a picture with everyone? I'm like, well, I'm not going to get to meet Hal Elrod and Tony Robbins and some of these big names. He's like, why not? Why limit yourself?
Yeah.
I said, you're right. So I put it there. I'm like, I'm going to meet these people. I'm going to get a picture. Well, last year I ended up on a Zoom call with Hal Elrod, which is one of my biggest favorite people, mentors. I meet him over Tony Robbins or anyone else. There was 150 people on this Zoom call. And at one point, he was the main speaker, and my little bubble's on the bottom.
Yep.
I was like, I can get my picture with Hal Elrod.
That's right.
The exact one that I was imagining, and in person and touching him.
Yeah.
I'll get that one day, but how quick! I was within a few months. I got my one-on-one picture with Hal Elrod. But
Yeah.
before I was limiting myself, I'm like, no, that can't happen. That's the moon. It's too far away. And it happened within a few months.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing what you can do with that. There's a really cool book out there called Blue Fishing, and we'll get that link in this show notes as well. That author came on a mentor call that my wife and I are in this mastermind with Brandon Turner from Bigger Pockets, and he brought on Sam, the author of Blue Fishing, and he talks so much about what that is, and it's a beautiful thing to bring into fruition what the life's energy can bring you, and you gotta align your energy with it. It's so cool to hear that you had that challenge to go get this picture with Hal Elrod, the Miracle Morning millionaire, the Miracle Morning guy. He's awesome. He has changed so many people's lives, and I love Hal Elrod too, and I would love to get a picture with him. And Brandon Turner is one of my bigger mentors. Love that guy. He has thoroughly changed Tiffany in my life. And we wanted, now that I know that you could just do pictures on Zoom, next time we're on a call, we're gonna get a picture with him. So
The thing is, Eric, you got to take like 50 pictures, because if not, you get the pictures where their faces all look real drunk because they're talking. And it's so hard to get just an actual clear picture that they're not going to
right.
hate you for posting. So you got to just keep snapping away with your screenshots.
I will have the button ready. I love that. And before we move on to the next one, y'all, he talked a lot about him writing his book. He talked a lot about the vision that he casted to get to that point. Tell us a little bit about your book and where we can find that.
So my book, How to Buy Mobile Homes, part of this I wanted to touch on when you were talking about it. I was in remedial classes all through school. And one reason writing a book was on my crazy list of things to do, because it's what people would never think I would do.
Yeah.
And then during the process of writing my book, I actually learned I'm dyslexic. So
Oh, wow.
the whole thing, if I can do it, so can you, that old saying that probably a lot of people think is silly. If I can write a book and I can buy mobile homes, so can you. But
That's
the
right.
book is really my story, a little bit more expanded. I don't go into great detail about spaghetti wrestling parties, but I go into my whole story, and within it, I'm teaching about actually buying mobile homes. So if you're a true action taker, you can get the book and take action on it.
Yeah.
And if not, I do have some courses and stuff to help guide you a little bit more through it. But it's about buying mobile homes, renting them out, or if you fix and flip, you can still get all the information about how to fix them up, what to look for. And it's a how-to with my story. And it's on Amazon. That's the easiest way to do everything, because I don't want to be shipping out books all the time. So I just let Amazon get some of the money and do the work for me.
That's great. And you have an audiobook coming. I know that I signed up just a few days ago for your audiobook launch. I cannot wait to hear it. I was on your book launch, and I was super grateful to be on that and give you that stunning review. It was well worth it. And can't wait to give your audiobook a similar review. When is that audiobook launching?
It's going to be in March. I don't have the exact date, because massive imperfect actions, like a good theme of my life. And I don't have all the pieces. I know it can happen in March, but I've already been delayed recording it. I'm hoping my recording is as well enunciated as yours, because you do an amazing job. I listen to yours. But it'll be in March, and I'm actually doing bonuses and stuff with it, because I didn't do that with an actual book. because it was just like, get this thing out there and launched. I don't have time to figure the rest out. So I was like, all right, I'll take a little more time with the audiobook and record it. Honestly, I wanted to have it on March 6th to be my 1-year anniversary, and it's not going to happen. And diving into that mindset we've been talking a lot more about than people probably expected.
Yeah.
That used to be a self-imposed deadline of mine, and I would get stressed and just not healthy and be really bad in my body. And it doesn't bother me at all that I'm not going to hit that 1 year. It'd be cool to launch it 1 year later. It would be really cool. But it really doesn't matter. I mean, it's not like people aren't going to get it because it was 2 weeks late.
Right.
And when I've learned to release these self-imposed deadlines, man, my life has just been happier.
Can you repeat that phrase you said just a minute ago? Imperfect.
Massive, imperfect action. That means you are planning to fail. So like Failing Forward is a book I always think about with that. John Maxwell. So you take a little action, you trip, you fall forward, you get back up, you do it again, you keep failing forward. The piece you got to add to that is then ask for help, because you're planning to fail. And if you have someone that has the roadmap or a coach or something, when you fail forward, you get up and you ask, what did I do wrong, and get some help, dust yourself off, and do it over and over and over again.
Right. One of our mentors in the educational space, his name is James Wedmore, and he talks a lot about, don't try to get all the nuts and bolts put together. If you want to teach a course, go teach the course. Go put it out there that your course is this date and go teach it. If 5,000 people show up and you don't have the infrastructure to handle it, you better figure it out, right? Because you may launch that course and only 5 people show up, but you also may launch it and 5,000 people show up. And you don't want to have spent so much time perfecting the process when you don't know what the outcome's going to be. Get it out there, just do it, and then adjust as you go.
That's exactly what I've done with some of my courses. And one of our mutual friends, he's already been on the podcast, Chris Peischer. I'll give you a little secret that people may not know. That's what he's doing with his automated landlord. He knows this stuff because that's what he does. But he's picking a date, and that's going to be there, and then he's going to build the course for it.
Yeah, just like with Dream Life University, when I casted Dream Life University into effect, when Tiffany and I designed it, we had all the content, we had all of the things we wanted to teach, and we just didn't know, is one person going to take it, or is 30 people going to take it? And we launched it. We had 12 people take our course, and we were super, super thrilled to have 12 people on our course. Maybe it was 6 or 12, one of those. And we were just so happy that people were in our course and they were learning from us, because what did that do for us is we got to learn. We got to figure out, we can refine this material and we can make it better. And we can, take these people that were in it in the first iteration of it and help them help us, and just be a symbiotic relationship. And so if you're out there and you're saying, I don't know if I want to be a landlord, I don't know if I want to buy rentals, I don't know if I want to buy mobiles, the best thing that you can do is taking action on any of it. And that first step of action may be going to Real Estate Investors Association meeting, going to REIA, go into your local IHOP on a Thursday night where people are gathered eating pancakes, talking real estate. You're probably not going to fit in. You're probably not going to understand a single word they say when it comes to deal structuring, when it comes to landlording. You may not understand a word of it. But the best course of education is immersion. You have to become one with the subject that you're trying to learn. You've got to become one with it. So that action is the most important step. Don't just listen. Don't just hope. Don't just dream. Take action.
Man, well said. Mic drop right there.
Boom. I don't have sound effects on my show. I'm very rinky dink podcasting. I need a little sound box where I can do applause and like a rocket launch and mic drop. So we're gonna move forward now. This is my favorite part of the show, where people get to know you just a little bit deeper. Although we've done a lot so far, but I do want to dive down a little bit on your mindset. And we've talked a lot about mindset, but let's skim over a few things here, and maybe you can give us some quick elaborations on where you stand. Scarcity versus abundance. When it relates to time and money, where were you? Where are you?
I was massively in scarcity, and I would have never told you that at the time. And I was, I was a couponer. I was scarcity in areas that I would have never thought of. Like I said,
Hmm.
couponing, and then even like I had to use the tiniest last little drop in the shampoo bottle and squeeze the toothpaste thing out. Really, that's scarcity mode.
Yeah.
I never thought of it in that mind. I just thought of only in money, but money has to flow. And I did a lot of work mentally to upgrade my mindset with money. In the T. Harv Eker book, was it Millionaire Mindset, I think? I
Hmm.
love the book. He talks about ordering on the left side of the menu, meaning the food you want, not the money you're going to spend.
Yeah.
And I did work on that, starting to order the food I wanted. And I got to a good place. And then I realized I started comparing again, what you were talking about earlier. And this is just last year. And a lot of it, when I got into the education, I'm like, well, I'm successful, but I'm not selling the same amount of courses as Brandon Turner, and like people that
Yeah.
are way far ahead of me. Like, well, how can I even compare that? So now I have been working again to upgrade my money mindset to a new level. And
Yeah.
all of this stuff is continuously going to happen. At one point, that's going to be an exhausted spot. I'm going to have to upgrade it again. I know that's going to be for the rest of my life.
Yeah. And it's the art of adding a zero is the way I like to call it. For you, $100 might be a lot of money. And for a lot of people in America, $100 is a lot of money. But when you can transition your mind into saying, well, what used to be $10 is now $100. What used to be $100 is now 1,000. And you keep adding a zero. I tell you, at this point in my life, I see $1,000,000 so much more different than I saw it 5 years ago. Like $1,000,000 today, it is a lot of money, and I respect that it is a lot of money, but it's nowhere near as much money as $1 billion or $10 million. When you can see things in your life relate to the zero, it changes your relationship with that money. And that is actually our next topic: is what is your relationship with money? When I know 5 years ago, I had no respect for money. Before I got started real estate investing, I just didn't respect it. I made money, I spent money. I never took that third step, which is so important. I never invested money, and I made it, I spent it. I never invested it. So, how did your relationship with money change?
Well, I've always been more of the saver. Like I said, the scarcity. That's how I was brought up.
Hmm. Yeah.
And as I've changed, I actually have $100 bills hanging up here in my
Hmm.
office. And I don't even know who I got that from, but it was to help elevate my money. I was very uncomfortable, and I'm looking over literally at a $100 bills taped to my printer.
Yeah.
That was very uncomfortable the first few months, because like that's a lot of money, and why would I just leave it there? It needs
Yeah.
to go in the savings account where it's safe.
Yeah.
Well, now that is money that I get to see to remind me that money can be a good thing.
Yeah.
And I also look to respect money. I need to put it to work. It needs to flow. This goes back into that woo-woo mindset stuff,
Hmm.
that if I'm hoarding it the whole time, I'm not allowing new money to come to me, and I have to flow my money so new money can come. I had one of
Yeah.
those jars, you put your coins in as a kid,
Oh yeah.
and I was so close to having it completely full because I don't use cash and coins that much anymore. So it hasn't been filling. I got rid of it recently. I donated it. I taught my nieces some lessons about money when we went through it. But I realized I got to get rid of that money, not irresponsibly, so more money can flow to me with bigger zeros on it.
Yep.
And there's some other things I've been doing. Literally right now, I got some journals. I'm literally working on my mindset of money, upgrading it
Yeah.
again.
Hmm.
And they're just about like that old school stuff we did in like elementary school of writing over and over and over
Yeah.
again. I'm
Yep.
writing these affirmation prompts that it gives me. I literally think of elementary school every time and how much I used to hate my teachers for it. And now I'm willingly doing it because I understand how it works.
Yeah. You're like Bart Simpson on the chalkboard.
Yeah.
I will not spit in the lasagna or whatever. Oh, that's great. And that's a great tip, listeners out there. That is so powerful. If you've never just written down things that matter to you or things that you want to be. I remember when I first started doing the Miracle Morning routine, and I started doing savers, and I was in the scribe session. And I challenged myself. I said, I'm going to write something down that I want to be true, but it seems so far-fetched. And I kept writing down, I am a millionaire. I am a millionaire. And I wrote that for probably 4 years straight. And finally, I'm now writing something different. And that something different is, I will leave this world a better place. And I'm writing that because I want to be a more philanthropic person when I get older. I want my children to be philanthropic people. I want them to be more focused with helping others than helping themselves. I love when Zig Ziglar says it, if you help enough other people achieve what they want, you will get what you want. And that is, we don't do it because we want to get what we want. We do it because we really want to help other people. And, I have this goal of mine to give $1 million to charity by the end of 2030. And I want to get there. I want to give $1 million away. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know how Tiffany and I are going to do it. We're going to figure it out. And Brandon Turner was talking about this in one of the mentor calls. He's like, I came up with this idea that I'm going to give away $1 million. And then someone in his friend group said, why not 100 million? And he said, I never thought about that. I'd never thought about just giving away 100 million. And so he wrote down, I'm going to give away $1 billion. So Brandon Turner is on a mission to give $1 billion to human trafficking efforts to stop human trafficking. And that's why I follow Brandon. I love his mindset on, we got to help the world. We are given God-given talents for a reason. And I think that is to help. And I believe that we're not given money. We're not given the responsibility to handle money so that we can spend the money.
That is why we have to beat money. I like that term. So financially free, whatever your term is. I like the term beat money. That's why we have to get there as fast as we can. I chose mobile homes. You've chose all different types of pad splits. Everyone has their different little niche. But that gets us to the bigger picture where we don't have to worry about how to eat tomorrow. Right. And these little things. Yes, we start doing stuff a little bit more luxurious and we're not on Spirit Airlines all the time. And, maybe every once in a while it's first class, but it's to get the bigger picture of the teaching, the helping. What people don't ever realize is the behind the scenes of your podcast. Even though you hire someone to do it, there's a lot of work. The education, there is a massive amount of work behind the scenes. And it is not always pretty growing that. You have to, well, I believe if the people that are doing it the right way are truly doing it with a passion and they want to help and they go through a lot of hard work and it's not worth it except for, would I change those lives again? And if the answer is yes, then all the money and work and that's behind the scenes is all worth it.
Yeah. Mic drop on Adrian's side. Yeah, it's so true. It's absolutely true. Last thing in our big chunk of education in this show, Adrian, is here at the On Purpose Investor Podcast, we talk about being hyper intentional and breeding a culture of hyper intentionality so that people can live their lives truly on purpose. That way they get to the end of their life and they say, you know what, I exhausted every effort and I'm proud of where I am. What would you say has helped you to live your life with more intention and more clarity?
It's that vision thing. We talked a lot about it. My personal vision, I'm on my 5th version of it. For me, once I get around 70% of that vision being true, I rewrite it. Yeah. And my business side, I'm on my 2nd one. I started doing that a little later. But when something comes, that shiny object that's always going to come no matter where you're at in life, right? If you use these tools the right way, you go back to your vision. So mine's written. I read it once a week to keep reminding myself. I go back to that. And the question is, how does this fit in my vision? That's why mobile home parks are not in my vision anymore. That's why I passed on a property recently. It was 0.75 acres. It had the mobile. That's my vision. And that fulfills me. But to really make money, I was going to have to put a fruit stand on it. And I was like, really, is this in my vision? Is this amount of extra work? Do I need to learn this? And I was like, no, it's not. So I passed on it.
Yeah. And having that really clear vision can help you to answer the most important question of all, is when something presents itself, can you immediately say heck yes or heck no? If it's not a heck yes, automatically it is a heck no, right? So that's something that you got to train yourself to start thinking. Just like Adrian said, your vision doesn't include a fruit stand just to make, cash flow. And that's easy for you to say. But, 10, 15 years ago, you might have said, oh, well, that ain't no problem. I'll do the fruit stand and hey, that's another venture. I'm going to open a whole line of fruit stands. That is now me. I am no longer Lifestyle REI. I am Adrian, the fruit stand man. I'm going to sell them in my Speedo. And that's me. But you get to say, no, heck no, that's not me, because I have a clear identity. I know where I'm going.
Exactly. And all of these massive amount of ways to invest, they all work if you do it.
Yeah.
And there are so few people I've ever met that can, from the beginning, do all of them.
Nope.
I believe most of us are pretty niched people and can only do one, maybe two at a time. Yes, you diversify, but after you get really good at one thing, then you can diversify, or you use other people to diversify for you.
It's a quote that I used in my book, and it's one that I love to use from James Wedmore, and Brandon Turner talks all about it. It's called Building Bridges. You're on Reality Island and you want to be on Dream Island or Success Island. And the fact is, you got to build that bridge all the way over there. And so along the path of building that bridge, if you get shiny object syndrome and you're like, oh, that bridge is going to be more fun to build, and you get off that bridge you're building and go jump on that one, you're going to end up at the end of your life with 50 half-built bridges, and you've never actually made it to Success Island. And that's what this vision, that's what this roadmap can truly bring you, is that clarity to stay on that bridge. You're a bridge builder. You deserve to be on Success Island, but you got to stay focused.
Exactly.
All right. We are at that point of the episode, Adrian. We are at the Fast Five. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, y'all. Here we go. Fast Five. Question number 1. What advice would you give to investors getting started today?
Pick your timeline of the shiny object of listening to the podcast and hearing a different topic every week, and then pick it. So if that's going to be 3 months, 6 months, don't go more than a year. Pick it. Be very intentional on that one. I would say for at least 6 months, maybe 8 months. And if it doesn't work or you don't like it, then switch. But be very focused in that massive imperfect action and asking for help.
Amen to that. Question number 2. Do you have any YouTube or podcast shows that you watch, you listen to, and that you would recommend to our viewers?
I am very big in the mindset. I honestly do more mindset on a daily basis than real estate. So when it comes to YouTube, I put in something. It can be Mindset Monday, whatever. I type it in, and I let the algorithm. So nowadays, the algorithm just tells me what I want to listen to next. I don't even know everyone that's on there, because I don't click on, Britney Spears dance. I guess I'm showing my age there, but I don't click on the Super Bowl stuff. I'm very intentional on not clicking those. And when friends will send me a YouTube, I won't always click on it, because that's going to mess up the algorithm, and then I have to actually do work to find what I want to listen to.
Yeah. No, that's such a great thing to utilize the new technology as a tool, because the algorithms out there can be your enemy. They can send you to stores that you don't want to buy stuff at. It can send you down rabbit holes you don't need to be in. But if you can train your algorithm to align with the vision, to align with your roadmap, that is a tool I have not heard. I love it.
I know this is supposed to be fast, but my Facebook is exact same thing. People talk about how negative Facebook is. If you're negative and I see it on my Facebook, I unfriend you. I don't unfollow you. I get rid of you. My Facebook is a beautiful, happy place because I'm using the algorithm for me.
Amen. And that's something we cleansed about 6, 7, 8 months ago. And now it's just, I love seeing the positivity. I love seeing people win. And when people share their losses, they're not just saying, oh, poor me, I lost. They say, I am so glad I lost because now I know how to win. And I love seeing that versus just the, oh, pitiful me, I'm never going to make it. Life's got me down. I'm a sucker, all those things. All right. Next question. Here we go. What do you feel has been the secret sauce to your success?
It's been the mindset. I know we keep going back to that. And if I have to pick one thing, it's really that miracle morning. We talked about how Elrod already, and honestly, I started it before I even read his book. I listened to him, I think on Bigger Pockets, actually, is the first place I was introduced, and just said, I'm going to try this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to guess 7 years in, and maybe I've missed a dozen, maybe 20 days that I didn't do some version of my miracle morning. That could be 7 minutes, but really it's probably, I time block out an hour and a half of these days. And it's part of my favorite part of the day.
That's wonderful.
The days I do it, I'm more productive and more successful than the days I don't.
Yeah.
It's a direct correlation.
Yeah. I mean, if you wake up lost, you'll be lost. If you wake up guided, if you wake up with direction and purpose, you will find what you want. You will find what you need. That's so important. And our last question here, and the most important, because you've said so much, and I really hope our listeners are eager to learn more from you. How can they get in touch with you? How can they follow you in your journey? Where can they get the book? They want to know more about the spaghetti fight. They want to see you in a Speedo. Where can they find you?
The easiest place to go to get all those links is AdrianS360.com. And that site has the link to my book, my social media that every once in a while I show up in a Speedo, then my professional side that has my business pages. It has the link to lifestyle-rei.com. All of it's right there. It's an easy place to go. AdrianS360.com. And you can shoot me messages. You'll see that you really can't call me because it doesn't fit into my vision to be answering the phone all the time. But I do reply to messages as I can because it's my vision, my life, that I then fit business around it.
That's right. That's right. And that's a slogan for your business, right?
I run my business. It doesn't run me. That's exactly it. And I spent a long time, because I learned all the vision stuff, building the rental business, the mobile home. So I spent a long time building the perfect lifestyle REI education. And then I launched it because I wanted to be intentional. I don't want to ever get tired of it because I want to continue doing it forever.
There's so many nuggets out of today's episode. Erin is our production manager, and she cuts these videos up at times and puts them on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. I just believe there's going to be so many little nuggets that come out of this episode, hearing the wisdom from Adrian Smude. It has been a blast. I've enjoyed it, Adrian. Thank you so much for being on the On Purpose Investor podcast.
I appreciate you having me, man. I'm always love talking with you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Until the next time, we will see you. Thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you. Head over to onpurposeinvestor.com and sign up for our newsletter to get all the latest updates. If you haven't already, we'd really appreciate an honest review wherever you watch our podcast. All right, now go smash that subscribe and follow button for more tips on building your dream life. See you next week, Pathfinders.